Welcome to the first episode of the Bridge series, which is a joint initiative by WIT and Phocuswright to bridge our industry at a time when global travel as a whole is beginning to recover. And after all, this is what we do best in travel, right, Pete? Is to build bridges. And it's great to see that Asia Pacific, which has been the laggard in recovery, is starting to pick up. And in Southeast Asia specifically, we're seeing the beginning of cross-border travel, with Malaysia announcing just this week that borders would open by April 1. And myself, I made my first cross-border trip to Cambodia just about 2 weeks ago. And next week, I hope to be winging my way to Penang, my hometown, after an absence of 2 years. So based on all this kind of openings, IATA has made the more optimistic projection that air passenger numbers will reach 4 billion in 2024, which will exceed COVID-19 levels. And that's about 103% of the 2019 total.
IATA is pretty bullish about North America. It says that in 2022, passenger numbers will reach 94% of 2019 levels, and full recovery is expected in 2023, ahead of other regions. Unfortunately, Asia Pacific will reach only 68% of 2019 levels in 2022, the weakest outcome of the main regions. 2019 levels should be recovered by 2025. But whether it's 2023 or 2025, we know that travel demand will return. As soon as restrictions are lifted, people travel. The biggest challenge facing our industry at this moment of recovery is talent, which is why we are kicking off the Bridge series with an episode dedicated to the great talent crunch, challenges and opportunities.
Yes, certainly lots of news about the Great Resignation. According to the WTTC, 62 million travel jobs were lost in 2020, representing a drop of nearly 20%, and with only 2 million of those jobs recovered in last year. And that doesn't take into account those who've just kind of left voluntarily because it got too hard, and those who will continue to leave our industry because it's still very overwhelming to be working in travel right now. So let's face it, how many of you, like me, have contemplated chucking it all in at any time in the last 2 years and doing something else with your life? I'm going to go to an audience poll. Let's go to the first poll and let's ask the audience whether they thought about it. And Pete, what about you?
Hoon, the first couple of months were really challenging. We're not used to restrictions here in the US. But actually I never decided that I would leave the industry. And it's truly because travel is core to who I am. And I think that's the way a lot of people think in this industry, is travel is part of their soul. And we all knew travel would come back. And we started here with road trips early on in pandemic. We were able to get out relatively soon. So that kind of kept that passion burning inside me.
I know, right? I mean, you were lucky because I live in Singapore, a small tropical island with nowhere to go. I mean, I have to confess that I did think of chucking it in, right? There were a couple of moments there and I go, is this going to be worth it? What's going to happen? But at the same time, I also remember that crises are actually defining moments in our career. And if we look back on our careers, those of us with some years, we will find that the crisis is when we rise to the challenge. And that's been a defining moment in our career. So I think it's good to hang on. And now we are at the front seat of travel's revival. So let's see, we have 70% saying, no, I love travel. So, we got a lot of diehards here. Okay, the second poll is, if you were to look for a new job, which of the following would be most essential to you? So I've just put in some elements there. I'm sure there are lots more, but Pete, what would you say to that? What's important to you right now if you were to look for a new job, which I'm not encouraging you to do?
Well, as many of you that have seen me in my basement office here have seen me here for the last year and a half. So working from home is one of those things that's really essential. We're a remote distributed company here at North Star Travel Group. So that's one thing that's allowed us to to maintain that work-life balance. So I think working from home and having the option to live like digital nomads every now and then is something that's really critical.
Right. Okay. So we basically have people answering saying better life work integration. And, that should always have been the case, but I guess it made us more aware at this time. So, Pete.
So this period has certainly made many travel brands think anew about how they organize their workplaces and talent strategies. Take, for example, Trip.com Group, which has announced it will implement a global hybrid work model where employees will be given the option to work remotely on certain days each week from March 1st. It made the decision after 2 work trials, which showed an increase in wellness among employees. So with the crunch comes opportunity to turn the great resignation into the great renewal. Let me now hand it back to Hoon to run the first panel, State of Talent.
Thank you. Thank you, Pete, for joining us from your basement at 3 a.m. from Denver.